Good morning, and thank you for joining me for the fourth of our 5-part series, Dispelling the Myths about Human Trafficking. Today I want to talk a little bit about a myth that I think is not so unlike the previous few that we've done. It's one that probably most of us believe at some level, or at least at some point in our life we've believed. And that is that there's nothing that can be done to stop human trafficking. For sure, this is a myth that traffickers would like us to believe. For sure, this is a myth that people who are involved in the demand side of human trafficking might prefer us to believe. However, it's not true. We have an opportunity as a compassionate people, as a people who are learning and understanding the realities about human trafficking, we have an opportunity to make choices every day that can influence the demand and the market for human trafficking. And so today I want to start with a story out of the Bible, because it's a story that really represents this issue and how we as a people can make a choice that for thousands of years people have had to make a choice about. In Acts chapter 5, there's a man called Ananias. And in the story, just before this event, the Holy Spirit fell upon the people, and they decided, we're going to live in joyful union in this place. And so everyone's just going to put together all their resources, and we're going to just share everything because all of our needs are going to be met. We have no reason to want more. And so Ananias and his wife follow suit with everybody else, and they sell some things and bring the money back to the disciples. And they only give a part of the money. First Ananias comes, he only gives a part of the money, but he says, this is all the money that I have. He held back some for himself. A little while later, his wife comes, and she does the same thing. She gives the money, and they ask her, is this all the money? And she says, yes. But truthfully, it wasn't. She had held back some for herself. And both Ananias and his wife, in doing that, they carried out one selfish act that if there were millions of that kind of selfish act, it would have had a huge impact negatively on those people. Similarly, and in modern day terms, we have at our fingertips, through technology, through access to resources, opportunities to commit one small selfish act that actually has a huge negative impact because it's multiplied by the millions of other people who are committing that same one small selfish act. We also have the opportunity to commit acts of kindness, to learn and make different choices about what we do and what we buy and where we shop and where we receive services. And in making those decisions, we can take our one act of kindness and let it multiply among millions of other small acts of kindness, which will influence humanity for good. And so, yes, when we multiply the impact of our decisions, knowing that there's other people who are making that same choice, and the more of us who do it, and the more often we do it, then yes, we can end human trafficking. We can end modern day slavery. Now, the question comes, how? How do you do it? How do you even begin? Where do you start? Where is the place in your life that you can start making different choices? I would encourage you not to focus on your big picture right now. It will be overwhelming, and it will probably paralyze you a little bit. Pick one place. Pick one thing. Choose something different, or spend some time learning. If you regularly get massages, research the place where you're getting massage. Learn about human trafficking in that industry. Identify the signs that might indicate to you that the place that you're going for massage maybe is a place that is trafficking people. Learn about where you're buying your products, your food, your clothes. That isn't necessarily directly in line with the sex trafficking industry, but if we can conquer all forms of human trafficking, if we can take a little bit away from the people who are invested in those selfish acts, then we can influence the bigger picture, the global picture of the human crisis. So those are easy places where you can start. Another way that you can begin to influence change is to just be really careful about how you talk about human trafficking. Social media is full of stories of a person whose cousin, whose best friend, whose daughter was in a parking lot of a box store and was followed by somebody. Those things might really happen, but that's not necessarily human trafficking. And if we've learned anything in the last couple sessions, it's that human trafficking is really more of a long-term mental and psychological manipulation. It does happen that people are taken from places, but it happens very, very rarely. And so we have to be really careful about the way that we communicate that human trafficking is happening. Because people grab on to the drama of a story like that, whether they want to or not, and it influences their way of thinking about this issue. And so if we're negatively contributing to that influence, or if we're communicating false information or information that maybe we don't know the source, although the temptation is for us to say that the source we do know is trustworthy, we really shouldn't be sharing those kinds of things unless we know that it's true, unless we actually know for sure that it's documented and true. Focus on the one. Just like focus on the one way right now that you can influence change, focus on the one life that your decision to change your approach towards something could impact. Because the one life matters. And when you can focus on that one, and then you successfully integrate a new habit into your lifestyle that is fair and that isn't positively encouraging human trafficking, then you move to another one maybe. And then you can affect another life. But it can be very overwhelming and again, very paralyzing if our focus is on the bigger picture all the time, because it will cause us to believe there's nothing that we can do about it. But that's a lie. That's a lie. There is something you can do about it. And the last piece that I want to talk about is just holding accountability. In love to the people in your circle, hold accountability on this issue. There's lots of places where we could maybe seek entertainment or seek the abundance of our lifestyles that we are actually positively encouraging human trafficking to continue. Movies. Are we entertained by movies that glamorize prostitution? Are we entertained by movies that glamorize pimps or other television shows or things that take this issue of slavery, of human trafficking, our old perception of what prostitution is, that it's always a person who's choosing that lifestyle? Are we taking those things and are we laughing at them? Because that's encouraging the behavior. Do you watch pornography? We'll talk about this a little bit more next week when we discuss the demands of human trafficking and how we combat it. But there is a lot of evidence to support that there are many victims of human trafficking involved in the pornographic industry. We could make a choice not to do that, and we could take money and influence away from that industry and diminish that demand, which would in turn diminish the amount of people who are being trafficked for it, right? There's lots of ways we can take small steps, big steps, one step, multiple steps. There's lots of places we can do that. We just have to be willing. We just have to be willing to say, I'm going to learn more about